Coronado Island. We have
the stories that I hear from some of these people are like
comfortable doing, but you got to do it just to
Him gives me a powerful witness, and
that attracts life. So,
Hey guys, thank you so much for tuning in to What's Good Kimberly and my new special, Simply Amazing. These are simple conversations with amazing people. And I have been so blessed to meet some phenomenal people throughout my career, throughout my life. And I would like to introduce to you a good friend of mine and a former colleague. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Doyle Borden. Hi, Doyle. How are you?
I'm doing great, Kimberly. How about you?
Great. I'm good. We're surviving quarantine, right?
Yes. Thank you so much for having me, too. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. I met you, Doyle, when I used to work for a linen company, and you have so many clients, and what I love is the clients that become more than just a client, but really become a friend. And what I've loved about you is that you are so much more than just what you do. You are such a light, and that's why I've kept in contact with you. I've been out of the industry for like 6 years now, and I'm still like, no, I need to know what Doyle's doing.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
And I see the same in you, too. I see the light in you, and I think light attracts light in that sense. And so, it's great to be able to create a community of other people who are like-minded and have a similar vision and goal.
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And especially at times like this, which brings me into my first question. When was the time in your life when you realized that you had to make a change in your life, and what were some of the first steps you took to begin the process of dealing and healing?
Sure. Well, thank you for letting me share. I really do appreciate that. It was about 3 years ago, actually, in late March. I was literally exhausted all the time. I was stressed out. I would emotionally eat and drink. I would say I was living to eat and living to drink. And that would be my emotional, I was emotionally eating and drinking, so to speak. I was using that to cover my feelings, cover my stress, trying to deal with my stress that way versus dealing with it in healthier ways. And it began to show up in my body, began to show up in asthma. There was a lot of inflammation because of what I was eating and drinking was creating inflammation in my body. I had it started manifesting in my body. Things like asthma. I was having to reach for an inhaler 5 times a day. My eyes were manic. According to one of my wedding planner friends, I said, "What do you mean by manic?" He says, "You couldn't focus. Your eyes would shift left and right." And other things, acid reflux, inability to sleep.
Yeah.
I'd literally walk up the flight of stairs. Yeah. And I'm sure everybody that's listening can relate to some of these things.
Absolutely.
And even the lack of energy, the brain fog, couldn't focus, couldn't concentrate. And as God would have it, so to speak, a good girlfriend of mine who's in the event industry as well, she found me on Facebook and said, "Hey, I'd love to connect with you. I see you're in Newport Beach a lot," which I was coming down here, and I always like to share with people what I'm doing on Facebook and stuff. And so we got together, and she shared with me some really great nutrition-based lifestyle solutions that I really hopped on board because I was desperate to do something different. When you're walking up one flight of stairs to your bedroom and you're winded, there's something wrong.
Yeah.
And so that's what I did. And I began that journey 3 years ago.
Nice. And when you started that, what were some of the first steps you took to be like, okay, you know what? I have an issue. I need to address
the first thing I did to change was recognize I had a problem.
Yeah.
And then make a commitment to doing something about it. They say the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result.
Yeah.
And if I say, "Hey, I want to get healthy," but you don't do anything about it, it's like, I want to work, I want to gain muscle, I want to be a muscular guy, But if I never work my muscles and tear them down, being
Yeah.
uncomfortable, I'll never get those muscles. And it's the same thing with your lifestyle. I had to make some lifestyle changes. I had to stop going through McDonald's drive-through every morning and getting an $8 to $9 breakfast.
Right?
You
It's the
know,
little
you're
things because at
freezing.
the
I don't
end of
know
the
if you can
week,
see
when
me or
you've
not.
got, yeah, no, like it's crazy because at the end of the week, when you realize you've got $50 more in your account and you feel a
Yes,
little less gross, and you're like, it's
yes,
just
absolutely.
the little step of not going to McDonald's
Little
anymore.
things.
Oh, I love that.
Absolutely.
I love
And
that.
so she shared with me a lifestyle program. Basically, it was like shifting what I was doing to doing something different,
Hmm.
but it was actually something that I could do that was affordable, actually cheaper than what I was doing, eating out and going to Starbucks and all this other stuff,
Yeah.
just to kind of spike, crash, burn, which is what I was doing
Yeah.
throughout the whole day
Yeah.
because I wasn't getting the nutrition. So the moment I started putting the real nutrition in my body, the light
Mm.
bulb went on.
Yeah.
And it's like things started happening. My energy came back. I'd sleep like a baby. I remember one day waking up like, what happened? I did not wake up once in the
Yeah.
whole night. And I cried. I was so excited. I was like, oh my God,
Ah.
I can actually sleep. I actually slept for the first time.
Oh, I
And
love
just,
that.
I started cleansing my body of toxins. And it started off with the physical.
Yeah.
And as I started getting
Healing from the
healthier,
inside out. Yeah.
the emotional and the spiritual stuff started showing up and allowing me to deal with those things
Oh.
too.
Wow.
And so that was really when the change really began to, compound.
Hmm.
And it's like, again, you make small decisions, small things. Well, it could be a big decision, but a small
Yeah.
changes in what you do. I started
Steps.
shifting what I was putting into my body.
I like
And
it.
then that started compound over time because that nutrition started healing my body.
Mm.
And I will tell you, within a matter of a few days, I realized I wasn't reaching for my inhaler 5 times a
I
day.
love that.
And
Wow.
some of the other things are starting happening. I was sleeping better. My energy returned. The brain fog went away.
Hmm.
And when you get clear, they say talk about going clear. When your brain is clear and your
Hmm.
thinking is starting, to clear, it's like turning on a light in a very dark, musty room.
Yeah.
You want to open
Yeah.
up the windows. You start seeing all the stuff in there like, hey, I need to deal with this and I need to deal
Yeah.
with that. And so that was beginning of the whole process and of the journey because it's a journey. 3 years later, I'm still on the journey.
I love that. And something that was interesting is that I remember you had shared like a before and after photo. And I remember
Hmm.
thinking, well, I've known Joy a while now, and I didn't think anything was wrong. But it was so funny in your after photo, you looked happy in one and full of joy and healthy in another. And I never looked at you like, oh man, he needs to get together. He looks kind of unhealthy. I never saw that in you. But like your
Hmm.
after photo and now, I'm like, you just look more full of joy. You look radiant from the inside out. It's like that light you see
Yeah.
in someone when you go, wow, what is it about you?
Hmm.
There's something about you, man. Like there's
Yeah.
something more. It's like maybe not everyone, maybe only the people close to you notice like, hey, something's wrong. But to the rest of us, we're like thinking you're okay. But I'm like, he just looks happier,
Yeah.
like
And I feel
more full of
happier.
joy, more whole, more
Yeah.
whole.
Yes.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I know that's the difference is because I always say it starts with, a simple change,
Mhm.
but it starts to compound over time.
Mm.
And when you see something over time, and that's why what I did is not a diet; it's a lifestyle, and I
I
had to
like
have that
that.
mentality from the beginning
I like
because
that.
so many people think I want the rapid choices. I want the rapid choices, but at the same time, I have to understand that I have to do the work. And
Mhm.
if I don't do the work and stay consistent with it, I'm not going to be able to see the results and live the results that I know that I deserve to have.
I love that. It's doing the work. And what is that?
Hmm.
Because sometimes I think we don't know. We know we need to work on ourselves. We know we need to work on stuff. But it's like you don't know what you don't know, and we get afraid of like, oh,
Hmm.
maybe I don't have the strength to overcome it. What are some things that you, in your process of dealing and healing, you had to overcome in terms of like distractions and obstacles
Okay.
once you got started on your path that you had to like get over
Sure.
those.
Well, it's like opening and turning the light on in the room.
Yeah.
You start seeing the things that don't need to be in that room.
Mm.
Things like old mindsets, old thinking. Like, I'm not worthy.
Hello.
I'm not
Yeah.
worthy of feeling this good. I'm not worthy of looking this good.
Yeah.
Sometimes we're taught that by society. Like, oh, you're a certain age, you're just going to have to accept your status quo.
Yeah.
You're just going to have to accept that you're getting older. Or you just kind of accept that your belly is going to grow and it's never going to go back.
Yes.
Things like that. I don't have to accept those things. My mindset is different now. And I understand that I'm God's creation. And and that I deserve to live the healthiest life that I can live. And the more, the good book says, I have come that you may have life and have it more abundantly.
Amen.
So I want to live an abundant life, not just getting by.
Not just getting by. Yep.
No status quo here.
We don't have to accept
I wake up every morning like, what can I do today to change someone else's life, to inspire someone else's life, to live their best life? Because I know if I help others live their best life, my life is going to be taken care of. That I have to share this goodness. The other thing is toxic relationships and toxic environments.
Yeah.
And I'll be honest with you, it took me 3 years to get through those things. But once I decided that I'd had enough, that I was better than that relationship. In other words, I didn't have to put up with that anymore.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, the moment I made that decision, it's like the windows of heaven opened up and said, okay, great, I've been waiting for you. And here's a blessing beyond your expectation, beyond what you thought you deserved.
Yeah, exceedingly abundantly above all you asked or imagined.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I'll tell you, I mean, I had come down to this little, I live on Balboa Island, for those that don't know. That's in Newport Beach. And it is
one of my favorite
amazing.
places to go.
Absolutely amazing. And I remember coming down here every month just about and saying to visit one of my girlfriends who actually introduced me to this healthier lifestyle. And I said, I will live here someday. Now, keep in mind, this is some of the most expensive real estate in the world is right here on this island. And I'll be honest with you, I am not a millionaire. Nowhere near it yet. So how can someone like me live in a place among millionaires and probably some billionaires? Who knows? Is because I would walk around this island just kind of like the children of Israel walked around Jericho and claimed it. And I would walk around this island and said, I will live here someday. I will live here someday. I don't know when. But I'll tell you, the moment I decided I was moving out of the toxic environment and I was going to, and I told my girlfriend, I said, I want to live on Balboa Island.
Yes.
24 hours later, she text messages me with a screenshot of a text she received from someone she knew on the island who was moving out of her one bedroom into a house, and which opened up her place.
Look at God.
Do you know anybody that happens to be looking to move to the island? And here I am a few months later. And it even gets better than that. A year before that, in January of 2019, I had my very first vision board party that I went to. And I put on the vision board a lot of different things, but a photo of Balboa Island because I wanted to spend more time down here. I had no idea that I'd be living here a year later. I literally had totally forgotten about it. And I was taken off the vision board January 1st of this year to put it in the car, to bring it down here, to put it on my new wall. And I noticed that photo. I said, a year later, the power of vision and decision, when you decide that you're going to do whatever it takes and make the changes, God opens the doors to allow you to walk through your destiny.
I love that. I love that.
But you have to decide first. That's the beautiful thing about all that.
I love that. And speaking it because, you know, I'm always like doing my Bible study and I'm like, okay, Lord, where are we going? And it's so funny because how you can read one verse and you can read it a year later and it means something totally
completely different.
And you're
Mm-hmm.
like, I never saw that before. And in the Bible, it says the power of life and death is in your tongue. But the power of
Yes.
life, everything about of life, of what you'll have, of
Mm-hmm.
what you'll go through, you can speak things into existence. Thank you, Lord, that I am strong enough to walk out of unhealthy relationships.
Yes.
And like you said, over
Absolutely.
time, you will find yourself shedding those things that were holding you back, shedding those relationships that were holding you back. But you've got to speak it,
Mm-hmm.
because how many times have either ourselves, because I've definitely done this, where you start, and I've become so conscious of the words that come out of my mouth. And I love that you said that. I love that
Mm-hmm.
you said that you spoke it and now you're living it. Because how many times are we speaking death over ourselves? Oh, well,
Mm-hmm.
I always pick the wrong guys. So, oh, well, I just let that stuff happen because I mean, that's life, right? No, we don't have to accept that. I
Absolutely
love
not.
that because God, I love that you said you're in this place where it's like there are people, these are $1 million homes. And it's like, I feel like whenever the enemy brings doubt, God is like, you bring that to me and you test me. Go ahead, bring it to my feet. And you
Mm-hmm.
bring it in faith, because you cannot please God without faith. And you
Right.
watch and see. That's like Malachi 3:10. You bring your tithes in the storehouse and you watch and see that I will not multiply it to the
Yep.
point that you do not have room enough to receive.
Mm-hmm.
And that can come in the
Absolutely.
manifestation of so many different ways. Because I've
Yep.
walked down there in
Absolutely.
Lido and I'm like, I will live here. So you and me might be neighbors, because
Yes.
I've definitely walked through this. I'm like, but I'm telling you, but what you're saying is true, because in the wedding industry, like in the events that we did, in the places we did, I remember I would say before I got started, I'm gonna have an incredible career. And I remember being in some of those places and some of those parties and going, I'm like 22 and this is like what I do. This is my life. But it's all about what
Mm-hmm.
you speak, because so many times even we'll look in the mirror and go, well, it is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
No, it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have
No.
to be at all. We don't have to accept that.
Absolutely. Well, faith is the substance of things not seen. In
Yes.
other words, if I was to look at the reality, there is no realistic way that I could afford to live on an island
Right?
among millionaires.
Wow.
But where there's a will, there is a way. And
Mm-hmm.
then the other thing I also, God gives us the desires of our heart.
Yes.
Check your heart, because your heart's
Good.
desires may not
That's
even be
so
good for
good.
you. They may not serve you, but you're still going to get them.
That's so good.
So
That's so
if
good.
you change your heart and change your desires and vocalize them, and
Yes.
I'm writing a book on how God has given me the desires of my heart
Oh,
ever since I was a little kid. Ever since
oh,
I
I
was a little
love it.
kid. He
Yes.
would put the desire in my heart. I would vocalize it. I would
Yes.
begin the process or the journey to go towards it.
I love
And
that.
in reality, there was no way I was going to be able to go do these
Mm-hmm.
things.
Mm-hmm.
None at all.
Mm-hmm.
But because I made the decision, I was going to go for it
Yes.
anyway,
Yeah.
and nothing was going to stop me.
Uh-huh.
He provided a way, and I can acknowledge that he provided the way
I love it.
every single time.
I love that.
And that built my faith.
Mm-hmm.
Every story that was written in my book
Yes.
built my faith.
Yes.
At the time, sometimes they were tragedies, sometimes they were crises beyond my comprehension,
Yep.
but I humbled myself and said, God, this is yours. I give it to
Yes.
you.
Yes.
I'm going to be grateful for this
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to learn something new.
Grateful. Yep.
And every time,
Every
he would
time.
move in and he would
Yeah.
make the way straight. Every time.
I love that. And we were talking about gratitude earlier. And that's so,
Yes.
because the Bible also says that you're overcome by the word of your testimony. And so many times
Yes.
you see something coming ahead of you and you start to fear, but then it's like, oh, wait. Let me go back and recount the times that the Lord has rescued me. And I was like, oh, I remember 4 or 5 years ago when I overcame this issue. And at that time, that was my greatest fear. And I
Mm-hmm.
overcame it, I conquered it, and I came out with favor. It's like when
Yes,
when when
absolutely.
um when Moses, yes, Moses was leading the people out, they left with the treasure of the people that enslaved them.
Mm-hmm.
Because God didn't just
Yep.
say, "Okay, you're free." He said, grab that bracelet, grab those treasures, grab that gold. They left with the plunder of the enemy. They left with the
Mm-hmm.
plunder of the enemy. So your greatest fear, not only can we overcome it, but we'll be blessed to walk out with more than we had even asked God for. But the key to that, which I love that you said, is that you've got to have faith. Faith
Yes.
and God's like, just give me what you got, man. And you're like, man, I'm holding on by like a string. He's like, give me your string. Give me the little bit of
Mm-hmm.
faith and I will expand on that and keep
Yes.
blessing you and keep blessing you and keep blessing you. Because like I said, I would look at you and go, there's nothing I remember reading your post and going, I don't remember Doyle being like overly. I've never looked at him and said something's wrong or just a, but gosh, he looks different. What is it about him?
Mm-hmm.
It's victory from the inside out. It's
Yes.
victory from the
Absolutely.
inside out. And I love what you're doing with nutrition because in the past few years I've learned so much. I got up to like a
Mm-hmm.
size that I looked at the scale and was like, I never thought I could get up this high. I didn't ever think I could
Mm-hmm.
gain this much weight. And so I completely understand what you're talking about of feeling better, putting things into your body and having that support. What is it about your
Yeah.
network of people that's helped you to stay? Talk to us about just the network of the people and what you guys do that has helped you and encouraged you on this path.
Well, first of all, it's part of a community of other people that are doing the same thing. It's like it's strength in numbers. You know, if you took one
Mm,
pencil, you can easily break it. I used to talk to my teenagers about this years ago, and I'm like the importance of assembling yourselves with other like-minded people.
mm.
Okay, so if you took a bunch of pencils together and tried to break them, you can't really break them. So
Oh,
we
I
involve
love that
people in our
analogy.
community. You know,
I
thank you,
love that
because it's
analogy.
so true, because
Yes.
we coach people. I coach people now. I help people begin this journey and navigate. I'm kind of like the GPS. You have to make
I
the
like
decision,
that.
and then I provide the vehicle for you. If you decide that you're going to take this vehicle, it will take you through and to your destination,
Oh, I love it.
and I will be the GPS. Okay, because I will help. I'll find out where you need to be, and we'll turn those things on, and then I will help navigate you through that
Mm,
journey.
I love
And it's
that.
not just me, it's the community that we have built of over 80,000 other people doing the same thing.
Hmm.
And so let's say if I plug you into our private Facebook page and you can see other people that are going through the same thing that you're going through,
Mm,
like, oh my God, if this person can do it, I can do it. It builds your
hmm.
belief in yourself that you can accomplish something that you've never done before.
Yeah, I
And
love that.
it increases your belief that you can actually help other people do the same. Because
Mm,
I don't know and I don't mean this to be sexist, I don't know
hmm.
a woman who has lost 5 pounds that didn't tell the world, right?
Hello. No, that's true. Yes, yes. When I started shedding
Exactly.
that
And
weight, I was
how they
like,
did it.
you guys, look. Yeah. Oh no, I agree. Yes. You
So
want to
we
share
naturally
that.
want
You
to
want to
share
share
it.
that.
Yes, sharing is caring, right? And
Absolutely.
so there's an infrastructure that we encourage people to share, because we know that if you will share from your heart
Hmm.
and people can see, and even myself, I mean, I, I had to share from the very beginning that I was going through this journey to keep
Mm,
myself accountable,
mm,
because
okay.
the ego and the dude, because
Hmm.
the dudes have egos,
Hmm.
I didn't want to say something and then, later people see me at a networking event stuffing my face with deep fried macaroni and cheese
You
balls.
have that accountability. Yes. Yeah. Got to have
Accountability.
the
Absolutely.
accountability.
So I started navigating through this journey, putting it out on Facebook to keep me accountable.
Hmm.
But what I didn't understand is people are watching you. That's the thing a lot of people don't understand. I was telling my brother this yesterday. I said, people are watching you,
Hmm.
and they're determining um, what they think about you by your actions and how you react to things. I have people tell me all the time, like, you inspire me. I'm like, really? How? But
Yep.
just by living my life and being honest and authentic,
Yes.
I know that I'm inspiring other people. And I began inspiring people on their own journey. They started reaching out and telling me their stories.
Mm,
It would break my heart. And I'm like, I can help you if you're open to it. And so
Yes.
as I began doing that and plugging them in,
Yes.
what's happening is this community is growing and growing and growing. It
I love
starts
that.
with one decision, but that opens the door, and I'd say the windows of heaven to pour out blessings beyond your
Yes.
imagination.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
if you don't ever walk through that
Mm.
first step, that door, get
Mhm.
in the car, so to speak,
Mhm.
and begin to drive, you're never going to get there.
Yep.
And
Yeah,
I'll
I
say this to
agree.
some people. I had one of my very good friends from high school say, "Well, let me pray about it." This is after about 10 conversations in
Yeah.
several months' time. I said, "What do you have to pray about?" I said, "You've been praying about it." I said, "The answer is right before you.
Mhm.
If you don't step through and accept it, say, hey, I'm going to take this, fear of the unknown. I don't
Mhm.
know. I don't want to be uncomfortable." See, your brain is designed to keep you safe,
Yes, in your
risk,
comfort
you
zone.
know,
Let me stay in
exactly
my
in your
comfort
comfort zone.
zone.
Even if you're uncomfortable, he's
Uh-huh.
so uncomfortable he couldn't even walk down the hall into the room where you had a full gym because he didn't have the energy to
Mm.
do that.
Mm.
And I said, you know what? If you'll just trust me and
Mhm.
walk through this door for 30 days, I guarantee you, probably within a week or two, you're going to feel different.
Feeling, yeah, from the inside out.
And
Yeah.
sure enough, on his 8th day,
Oh,
he
I
says, you
love
wouldn't believe what's happening. He goes, I've been out in the yard all day picking up trash, limbs that have fallen through a storm last night. I said, doesn't everybody have to do that in Texas? He goes, no, you don't understand. I've been limping for 3 months.
Oh
I
my
haven't had the
gosh.
energy to do anything. He goes, I no longer have this inflammation in my knee. I walked
Oh,
normally and I worked all day.
so
And
many
I
of
said,
us need help
remember
with
when I
that.
said,
Yes.
exactly. I
Yes.
said,
Yes.
remember a few days ago, I said, one day you're going to wake up feeling different?
Mm.
Yeah. Today's
Hello.
your day.
I love that.
Everybody has that day.
I love
But you
that.
won't have that day if you don't step up and say, I'm going to take the opportunity.
Mm. Mm.
And so that's the brilliant thing is we have to first decide that we're going to get uncomfortable
Mhm.
and walk through a door, try something different.
There's so much
Otherwise,
more
we can't.
better on the other side of that door.
Absolutely. It
Mhm.
completely changed my life.
Yeah.
I mean, I've made some of my best friends in the last 3 years.
I love
Deer is
that.
like family to me.
I love
And I've
that.
been able to do so many different things and reach out because of that young man. I'll say young because he's probably a couple months younger than me. Is I was introduced to his sister and her husband, and then a whole group of other people who are looking to get healthy. And I'm building a community in another state just
Wow.
because one person finally said yes.
I love that.
Think of the impact your yes will have on other people's lives. If you never say yes, some of those people will never have the life-changing experience that they deserve to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's what gets my tail end out of bed every day.
Amen. It's purpose. And I feel like so many of us are looking for purpose. And especially here in this quarantine state, we've kind of stepped back and said, what am I really doing with my life? I have friends that
Mm-hmm.
can go buy a house in Newport cash. And they're
Yeah.
looking and going and waking up and going, what have I done with my life? I haven't really
Mm-hmm.
done anything meaningful that's really reaching people's lives. And that's what, I mean, this quarantine's tough, don't get me wrong. People are sick and people are
Right.
struggling, but it's also in every trial, there's a gift in that trial.
Yes.
And that's one of the things that those of us who are in that state where so much of us are right now in quarantine is we're realizing we get an opportunity to hit reset. We get an opportunity to come
Yes.
out of this on the other end and go, now let me approach my life, my business with more meaning and more
Mm-hmm.
purpose. And on the
Yes.
note of business, because like I said, I met you in the wedding industry, and I remember you
Mm-hmm.
had such a unique approach to your company.
Mm-hmm.
I remember your ad. Oh, I loved your ad. I loved your ad so much for
Yes.
your flower company. You guys, Doyle is not, he's so much more than a florist. Doyle is so much more than a florist. But when I met you, you were a florist, and I was in linens, and I was also working with a few wedding coordinators and doing large Indian and South Asian weddings, Lebanese weddings, like on the side. And we'd always talk, creatively. The wedding industry is such
Mm-hmm.
a creative industry. And again, with the interesting thing about quarantine, it's given a lot of business owners that have been forced to close their doors for the time being we literally cannot open our doors until things get back. So it's a good
Mm-hmm.
time for us to think about our business practices. And I've always respected the way you've handled communication, because the wedding
Mm-hmm.
industry is tough in terms of, or the special event industry, but in terms of being a creative, when you have a vision, and because it's not, the wedding industry is not like, you need bread, I make bread, taste the bread. You want to buy the bread? Great, here's the bread. We're selling so much vision. Can you, because I've
Intangibles.
respected so much of the way you've handled yourself in business, can you kind of share with us some lessons that you've learned regarding operating a creative business, so that I know
Sure.
we can learn from you and come out on the other end and change some things about the way we're running things in our own businesses.
Sure. Well, I first of all learned that I had to be grateful for every event, because we're only as good as our next phone call. If the
Yeah.
phone doesn't keep ringing or the emails don't keep dinging,
Yeah.
we don't have a business. We
Mhm.
had a business. And
Mhm.
so I learned to be grateful and to share that gratitude. I work with a big event company as one of their frienders and one of their support team, you might say. And every event, they handwrite a note and say, I just want to tell you how grateful I am and your contribution to that made our event such a success.
Oh, I love that.
And that shared with me, like, I want to do the same thing. So I began to do the same thing, is sharing that gratitude with other people. We get so busy. We get so busy, like going from one thing to the other, to the next, and the next. And, we just begin to take for granted what we have. But again, if we don't show that appreciation, that gratitude, we're never going to, grow from those experiences and grow that relationship. Because let me tell you, people can always run to the next bright and shiny object.
Yes.
But if you have a relationship that you have nurtured over years, and that's through gratitude and kindness and reciprocation and things like that, you're not going to have a business. And so that's one of the things. And and also celebrating the feast and saving for the famine.
Hello.
I have
Yes.
a very busy season every year. That's my busy season.
Yes.
And the temptation is to go get every shiny object. Oh, I want to get this because it just came out. Like, oh, I want to get this. And that still small voice says, no, you need to save. In your slow season, if you're busy, then you can maybe afford to get that shiny object if it serves you and your business.
That's a good point. Yeah.
And let me tell you right now, thank God I learned that lesson 2-3 years ago, because this year, this is my slow season anyway.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
And so I prepared for it. And thank God that I did, because I'm
no one saw
not
this coming.
hurting as much as a lot of my friends are, because we all have responsibilities, and I had to make so many pivots through all the experiences I've had in the past and all the crises I've gone through in the past. I've learned so much to where I have a very lean and tight ship. My overhead's really low in comparison. And so I created a business model to where I could do that. So in
important.
times of famine, I am not overwhelmed and, in a state of fear, in a fetal position, wondering how I'm going to get out of it.
Yeah.
So that's been wonderful to have that experience growing up and learning those things and preparing for the unknown. Because if we don't prepare for the unknown will show up, and then what are we going to do?
Yes. Yeah.
And I will say what's been really helpful is, and I think more and more people now are beginning to understand this, and it's opened up a lot of conversations for me, especially my friends in the event industry, is building an income producing asset. So many of us are like independent contractors or independent business owners, and we don't have a retirement plan.
Special event industry,
a lot of times,
and so many other industries. Oh yeah,
and other industries as well. We live from paycheck to paycheck or event to event, and if we don't have a income producing asset, and Doyle, what is an income producing asset? It is something that you build once and it pays you over and over and over again. Well, who has those kind of assets? Well, hello, Jay-Z. A
Mm-hmm.
billionaire. Why? Because the songs that he wrote and produced are played on the radio and they're streamed online over and over and over again.
Oh,
He's a
that's a good
billionaire. So is
point.
his wife,
Yeah.
Beyonce, or close to it. Well,
Yeah.
I'm not a Beyonce or
Or
what I just said his
Jay-Z.
name was
Yeah. Yeah.
Jay-Z.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm not a author who writes Harry Potter books.
Yep.
So how can
So
I
how can I
create
create that for myself?
an income producing asset
Mm-hmm.
with little to no money? Well, I
Mm-hmm.
found a way, and now I'm
Mm-hmm.
sharing that with other people. It's like, hey, take a pocket of your day and have
Mm-hmm.
conversations with people, because you can create an income producing asset. So when you have times like this, you
Yes.
have a few extra $100 coming in every month.
Yeah.
And that can grow and compound over time to where
Mm.
you could literally have a secondary income, if not overtake your initial income. So it gives you more financial freedom. And as one of my girlfriends said the other day,
Yes.
what she wants is geographic freedom. She goes, I want to be able to take a month and just go to Italy
Yes.
or go to Australia
God bless the day we
and
could
not
get
worry
back
about
to
how
that.
much it would
Yes.
cost.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
And it can happen. It really can happen. And I know how to do that
I
now.
love that.
And that's what I'm working on. That's why I keep sharing it with others, because I want you, whoever's watching this, to understand that there is a solution to every situation if
Yeah,
you're
there is.
open to it.
Yeah.
You've got to be
Yeah.
open to it,
Yeah.
because it's like knocking on the door of the heart or the
I
mind,
mean, yeah.
but you
Yeah.
just got to be open.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the gift. And what I love,
Hmm.
I love your focus. I love your focus and your willingness to evolve. I think that's something really wonderful about you that I've watched over the years. And I'm like, I love the changes you're making in your life because it's so interesting to watch. I've seen people I've known for a long time, and I'm like, it's like you said, insanity. They're still doing the same old thing. When I talk to them, they're still
Hmm.
complaining about the same old thing. But I'm also like, because you're doing the same old thing. But like you said, it
Exactly.
takes openness and it takes community and I think in order to focus, we've got to have the strength to do that because, like you said, it's the strength to just make a conscious decision to be uncomfortable. Which
Hmm.
being uncomfortable is not a bad thing. A lot of times, like this is the most uncomfortable state I've ever been in my life. I went from weddings for almost 15 years. I started when I was a teenager, and
Hmm.
to mortgage because there were kids, and it was like I know when I'm going to be home and when I'm going to not travel. So I'm here for the kids. And now I'm like freaking 35, and I'm totally changing.
Hmm.
Doing my show and
Hmm.
taking it to the next level and doing acting and like that is so
Hmm.
uncomfortable. It's so uncomfortable,
Yeah.
but success and something my father always success is my father always said is success is highly inconvenient. It's
Yes.
highly inconvenient.
Absolutely.
But there's a
Hmm.
strength that is required in order to make those little decisions of going, you know what, not pulling into McDonald's. Let me go make my salad or make my shake or make this. Oh my God, I feel so much better. I'm so glad I didn't go there. But it
Hmm.
takes that bit of strength. And I know you and I have talked about our faith so much. Can you share with us
Hmm.
about how your faith has impacted the strength in your life that's been required to make the decisions that have now brought you to this Doyle that I'm looking at that's
Yeah.
happier, that's healthier, that's got more energy, that's got more focus?
Well, I thank you. I first of all have to give gratitude towards my family.
Mm,
Growing up in a home of faith, was it perfect? No, but faith
mm,
was always our source of strength.
mm. Yeah.
And it's like when we had need of something, we knew where to go. It's like a
Mhm.
well. It's like if you're thirsty, you go to the well. Or
Mhm.
nowadays we turn on the faucet,
Yeah.
or we open up a can of drink, whatever.
Yeah.
So my faith has always been a source of my strength. And
Mm.
the book that I'm writing is about gratitude. And
Oh,
gratitude
great.
is acknowledging the goodness that God is giving us in every
Mhm.
situation.
Mhm.
And I found myself many years ago through a crisis that, and at the time, seemed bigger than what I'm going through, what
Mhm.
many people are going through right now.
Mhm.
And I had to humble myself,
Mhm.
admit that I was not perfect,
Mm.
because we all want to
Yeah.
pretend to be perfect, but
Yeah.
I had to admit that I was making, I had made some mistakes and I needed help, and I just didn't know quite what to do. So I reached out to my mom, who is a very strong woman of faith. She
Uh-huh.
shared with me that encouraged me to reach out to a gentleman that was also a minister that I had worked with in the past. And he basically said, Doyle, he goes, first of all, stop worrying. He goes, whatever you're going through right now, stop worrying. Because I've gone through a similar situation in the past. He goes, when it was all said and done, and he had the most kind and gentle voice, he goes, when it was all said and done, I realized I worried way too much.
Wow.
You need to give this over to him, to God.
Yeah.
And he goes, I want you, when we get off the phone, I want you to start thanking God for every little thing from the moment you were born that you can remember, what he has done for you. And when you do that, I want you to vocalize it. God, I thank you for the time when this happened and this happened and this happened. And let me tell you, I started in a fetal position, and when it was all said and done, I was pacing my apartment, my shoulders back, my head up, weeping with gratitude and joy. Yes. And I said, if you can deliver me from all of these things, you can certainly get me out of this situation and deliver and provide a solution. And so he encouraged me to be quiet and listen after that. And I did. He said, a crazy idea is going to pop in your head, which it did. I followed through with that. And let me tell you, not only was it the source of my solution, but it opened the door for a whole new way of thinking and business that it set me free from a business model that wasn't working. And it gave me a lot more time freedom and everything else. And so I learned a huge lesson from that. And it follows through today. And that is when you remember all the good things that God has done for you in the past.
Yes.
You will not fear the future.
Amen.
Think about that for a minute.
Oh, I love that.
If you're afraid of the future right now, I want you to go back and start thanking God for all the wonderful things he's done in your life. And that could be anything that happened to you that's be out of your own ability to do and create for yourself. That was what God did for you. And when you start vocalizing those things and you just go down the list all the way up, your faith is going to be restored. You're going to be, your belief will be restored, and you're not going to be fearing the future, because if he can take care of the birds and the flowers and he feeds them, we're so much more important than the birds and the flowers. Okay,
and
he's going to feed us.
He's blessed us with.
Exactly. Abundance is true. And that's when the creativity, Tony Robbins talks about, changing your state. Talk about changing your state. If you're living in fear, doubt, and anxiety, that's below the line. And you can't be creative when you're fearful or anxious and you're living in doubt. True. So you have to find a way to rise above that. And that's changing your physiological state. And so my battery's almost running down, so I have to plug me in here. And so he had us do an exercise, and I see this as in a form of praise and worship and thanking God. As I will start thanking God for all the great things he's done and acknowledge his beauty and all the beautiful flowers, the beautiful people, the beautiful surroundings. Thanking God for those things. That changes my state. Because now I'm energized, I'm physically happy, my physical body is different. And Tony says, I want you to think about the team that you followed all your life that never won a game and they just won the Super Bowl. And I just want you to get up and start screaming and shouting and all that stuff. And so we did for like a minute. 16,000 people in a room.
Wow.
And then when he stopped the music, he goes, now how do you feel? He goes, you feel like you can conquer the world. Why? Because you change your physiological state. And how do you do that? Start thanking God for everything.
What a good gratitude.
Yes.
Gratitude,
when you focus on gratitude, you will not fear the future.
Yeah.
And that's what I got for you today in that sense.
That is so good. That is a whole word right there. That is a whole word right there. Yes, that is so good. I'm telling you, we were talking about I got in a car accident yesterday, and I was.
That's right.
I'm still sore. I need to go ice. But everything, I started. Oh yeah, my car. But I'm like, okay, this is still here. Yes. Okay, I can still feel. My spine is still intact. My legs are still working. Thank God I have insurance, even in the midst of quarantine and everything that's going on. Thank God I can make that
Hmm.
last insurance payment and I'm covered. And you start
Yeah.
thanking God, and then the fear of like, oh, what's going to happen? Is this going to work out? Can I get a new car in time? It's like, I
Hmm.
love that. And you know what? So many people
Yeah.
need to hear that, because there's a lot of people that don't have that basis of faith to stand on, and that don't have a network. Um, we're quarantined right now, and there's a lot of people that work or school was your social atmosphere and don't have a network. And I love that you said that you're
Hmm.
creating a network in another state.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How can we get in contact with you, and how can
Sure.
people reach out to you to learn more about specifically what you're doing and how they can get involved with you, and especially keep tabs on you, because when that book comes out,
Yes.
I want
I would
my
love for you
signed
to.
copy, and I want to be in
Yeah.
line to get my book signed by Doyle. How can we keep in contact? Because I'm going to list everything below and link everybody to you.
Absolutely. Well, my social media is easy. My name, Doyle Borden, Doyle Borden.
Hmm.
Instagram, as well as Facebook, LinkedIn as well. I'm not as active on LinkedIn as I should, but I am on those. And you can email me, doyleborden@me.com, and I'll be
Okay.
happy to reach out to you and set up a time to talk to anyone and learn about you and what it is that your goals are.
Yeah.
Because if you don't understand what your why is, why are you wanting to change or needing to change,
Hmm.
you won't even be able to survive any changes that you
Good
might be
point.
making because you'll quit.
Good point.
So
Yeah.
I help you discover what your why is and where you want to go, and
Hmm.
provide an opportunity of a vehicle for you to begin that journey. And
Hmm.
I'm like the GPS for that. So I'd love
I
to
love that.
reach out and to share this with anybody who's listening.
I love that. You guys, I'm linking all of the ways to contact Doyle below, and I truly encourage you to reach out and find out more about what he's talking about. And because I can tell you guys, I don't bring you people that I don't believe in or I don't trust. And Doyle's got a heart of gold. And like I said,
Thank you.
when I saw your before and after, I'm like, well, before wasn't that bad. You've always been a dashing, strapping young man. But just seeing the joy from the inside out, and seeing your health and hearing your testimony, and even talking to you, we talked the other day, and you lifted my spirit, and I needed
Oh,
that. We
thank you.
need community. We need
Yes.
accountability, you guys. And I encourage you to
Hmm.
reach out to Doyle and to keep in contact with where God is leading him on his path, because I'm watching him just walk in freedom and walk in abundance. And if that's something that you need, you're sitting there, you feel sluggish, you feel unhealthy, you can totally relate to what Doyle's saying, and you're like, man, ooh, gosh, okay, Lord, you've convicted my
Hmm.
heart. I need to get
Yeah.
with it. Please reach out to
Hmm.
Doyle. He's
Yeah.
a part of a wonderful community, and just your focus on gratitude is exactly what we need right now. It's such a
Yes.
blessing. Your outlook, your testimony is encouraging me and lifting me up. And I'm like sitting here like, ooh, okay, I need to do that. I need to redo my vision board. Okay, yes, I need to get out there.
Yes.
So you guys
Yeah.
contact Doyle. Doyle, you're amazing. Thank
Well,
you
thank you. You are
so
too.
much for sharing, because it takes bravery to share. It takes openness
Mm.
and courage. So thank you for sharing. You guys follow him, get in contact with him, and tune into the next episode of Simply Amazing, Simple Conversations with amazing people like our friend Doyle.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it. God bless you guys.
Bye.